me and Jen, she lives in Chesapeake. Jen's my girlfriend, by the way. She lives in Chesapeake. I live in Virginia Beach, so we spent a lot of time together, right? Now I got to meet a family, and that was an interesting experience to say the least. A few of them are a little, but I won't judge because a few of my family are like that too. But while I was meeting her family, we learned some very morbid news. We learned that her grandfather is on hospice. For those of you who do not know what hospice is, it's where medicine can't really do anything for you anymore. So the decision is made to put you in hospice care, where they take you off of your medicines and all that, and put you on morphine or something like that, so that you die comfortably. But that's what's a guarantee that it's coming. Then it's coming. And that God works in all things. And through this rough week that I've been having, God has given me the topic for today's sermon: death. And death is something that we usually do not want to talk about at all. It's something that we want to push under the carpet. A lot of people feel squirmish at just hearing the word. Why is this? Well, it's because of the secular themes in our culture. That there's a lot of secular themes in our culture. That to them it's a very real thing. The fear of death to them is extremely real. And to understand this, William Shatner had a very good quote to explain this. He said, "I'm so not ready to die. It petrifies me. I go alone. I go to a place I don't know. It might be painful. It might be the end. My thought is that it is the end. I become nameless, and I spend a lifetime being known." To them, it's a very real fear, and it has overcome our society. But as Christians, we have to have a better outlook on it. We have to have the same outlook that Paul did in Philippians 1:20-24. "I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage so that now as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I am to go on living in this body, this will mean fruitful labor for me. Yet what shall I choose? I do not know. I am torn between the two. I desire to depart and be with Christ, which is better by far, but it is more necessary for you that I remain in the body." He says Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. He says to die is gain. He says I'm torn between the two. He's talking about life and death here. He says I desire to depart and be with Christ, which is better by far. He has such a positive outlook on death. But yet, there's many people in our society nowadays that are just terrified of it. Yet he's saying it's better by far. And now, don't get me wrong here. He wasn't completely fixated on death either. That he says to live is Christ, to die is gain. He says at the end of this verse that it is more necessary for you that I remain in the body. He acknowledged that he still had work to do here. To live as Christ, he accepted his burdens, his sufferings, and the work that God had him to do. But he also accepted that death was coming, and that it was going to be greater after death. And that he found a balance between the two, instead of being on one side and ignoring the other. But this is all talking about physical death, right? Because we're going to physically die once. Well, some of us maybe more than once. I mean, Lazarus got raised up once. I don't know if he died again or what, but we're going to die at least once. But there's another kind of death. There's spiritual death. If you turn to Ephesians 2:1-5, it reads, "As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world, and of the ruler of the kingdom of air, which is Satan, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. All of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our flesh, and following the desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature deserving of wrath. To be spiritually dead is to be dead in sin. That's not being physically dead, that's being spiritually dead. Your spirit being dead. But that's not all. We're not stuck in that. Because Jesus fixes spiritual death.
Amen.
And if you look back to Ephesians 2, continuing on to verse 4 and 5, it continues saying, "But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved." That's the difference between having a good outlook and going to heaven after and going to hell. And Jesus is a rescue. He is a revival of our spirit. And he is our only rescue. Acts 4:12. Salvation is found in no one else. Speaking about Jesus here. "For there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved." And this is why we follow him and him alone. Because he is our only salvation from our sins. He's the only way to get out of being dead in sin and being alive in him. And because of this, we can't be scared of death anymore as Christians. Because we know that we're not dead in spirit anymore. That when we physically die, we're going to heaven. But don't be too fixated on it, though. Don't forget, you still have work here. As remember what Paul said, live as Christ and to die is gain. Not just one or the other. You have to have a balance between the two. But don't rejoice too much in death, because you still need to grieve those you have lost. When someone else dies, don't just laugh and be happy. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be sad. Because even Jesus grieved. If Lazarus, right? He died, and Jesus came by, saw Lazarus' sister weeping, and Jesus went and wept with her. The verse we all know, the verse I've tried to get by in memory verses for my entire life of Bible study. John 11:35. Jesus wept. They devoted an entire verse to this, of his grief here, of him grieving with Lazarus' sister. Then after that, he went and raised Lazarus up from the dead. He didn't first go do that. He grieved first. And another beautiful example of this was King David. Right? In 2 Samuel 12:15-23. While you're flipping through it, I'll give you a little bit of context. So, David did this whole thing with Bathsheba, right? And the prophet Nathan came by and rebuked him. And that's where this verse comes in, as Nathan is leaving. After Nathan had gone home, the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife had born to David, and he became ill. David pleaded with God for the child. He fasted and spent the nights lying in sackcloth on the ground. The elders of his household stood beside him to get him up from the ground, but he refused, and he would not eat any food with them. On the 7th day, the child died. David's attendants were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they thought, while the child was still living, he wouldn't listen to us when we spoke to him. How can we now tell him that the child is dead? He may do something desperate. David noticed that his attendants were whispering among themselves, and he realized the child was dead. Is the child dead? He asked. Yes, they replied. He is dead. Then David got up from the ground. After he had washed, put on lotions, and changed his clothes, he went into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he went to his own house, and at his request they served him food, and he ate. King David grieved while his son was sick and dying. That he didn't eat anything. He was in sackcloth, which was uncomfortable, right? But even furthermore, he was laying on the ground, wouldn't move. Imagine not moving for a whole week because you're so much in grief. It's ridiculous how much he was grieving. He was moved so emotional that he wouldn't even move off the ground. But after the son died, he got up, changed, made himself presentable, went, worshipped, and went and ate. He moved on afterwards. So, with grief, it's okay to grieve. You can have your season of grief. It's good, it's healthy. But don't be consumed by it. Don't forget to move on afterwards. Move on after grief. And just like you can't be consumed with living, or you can't be consumed with dying. That to live is Christ, to die is gain. God says, well, but after death it's going to be great. You have to find the balance between them. So, in the words of Paul, to live is Christ, to die is gain. Thank you.